Okay, so welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. It's Wednesday, January the 8th. Hey, hold on. It's a white knuckle ride this 2025 already, isn't it?
Sure is. Oh boy.
You know. And by the way, one of the things we didn't talk about yesterday, I didn't really think about this, but the longest the government can stay in office till is October 25th, I believe, this year. I really don't expect to have an early election, actually. I'm thinking about it because it really serves nobody to actually have an early election right now, not even the opposition.
Are we broadcasting?
Yeah. Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Welcome to Talking Niagara. How about we start that way?
Yeah.
Welcome to Talking
Well,
Niagara.
I said, Peter, I said we welcome you to Talking Niagara January 8th. Or didn't you hear it?
Okay. No, I didn't. So welcome. I'll repeat that.
Maybe
Welcome
you
to
froze up
Talking
for a
Niagara.
second.
The show. Welcome to Talking Niagara. The show. If anyone listened to us, we'd be living in paradise right now. But we'll keep trying.
We do have our faithful listeners.
Yes.
In fact, we got a couple online right now. Yeah. So, what do you think? What do you think about the date of the election? I can see. I've been doing some further thinking, and I think that we might actually not have an election early, or not too early anyway. Maybe July is about the earliest we might get it to.
I feel that we'll have we'll probably have an Ontario election this spring because Ford's politically astute, and he's riding on a popularity wave. So
I think we'll have an Ontario election. Yes, I think we'll have an Ontario election. I don't think we'll have a national one.
I think we will
until the fall.
The Canadian public is itching for it right now. If the Liberals and NDP keep resisting the election, then they will pay for it in the election results. Right now, I think about the only thing that worries Polyev is if they do get a sort of a leader for the Liberals who is similarly attractive as Trudeau was, a type of electable leader, just because of the things that he says and the look that he has. For instance, I suspect that Mark Carney will become the leader of the Liberals. If Chrystia Freeland does, they're going to get wasted. So they need a new face. I think the Liberals will realize that, and Carney will be put in the driver's seat, and it may reduce the favorability of the Conservatives by some, but not much. And the earlier the election happens, the better it is for the Conservatives. They're prepared for election now. The other parties have to get prepared for election.
Yeah, but I was speaking with a few Conservatives yesterday, and one of them, at least one of them, says it serves no function right now to bring forward, given that Parliament's prorogued till March, it serves no real function to actually you bring forward the election more than a month or two anyway, right, from the viewpoint of the opposition, because the opposition feels now that they're in quite a strong position.
Yeah, but there are other extenuating situations right now. Canada is breaking apart right now because of the weak central government. As we see from the response of the Ontario government and the Quebec government and the Alberta government, they are taking they're taking things into their own hands, particularly with border security, and that is because the federal government cannot coordinate a national response to the border security and the fentanyl type of demands that come from Trump. And he can rightly say, look, the federal government can't do anything up there. Ontario Alberta, BC, and Quebec are all doing their own thing without a coordinated response. That, I think, if the Conservatives say that it won't serve any need, it will. We have to have a solid federal government with a mandate. Otherwise, we're going to get steamrolled by Donnie Bonespurs, and so the guy.
Okay, let's talk.
Okay, that's what I think. Anyway,
okay. Yeah. So let's talk for a moment about the border security. Ontario tightening the border security amongst these tariff threats, because you're right. It's not only Doug Ford. It's also Daniela Smith, and and they're looking up at. Yeah. So each of the provinces are taking action on their own in order that their trade with the US is looked upon favorably.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing about this should have been a federal response. It should have happened a long time ago, even without Trump. And the kind of border security that the provinces are doing on their own now, Smith and actually Premier Ford has just announced his own border security using the OPP.
Yeah,
all of this should be done with the border
He's
services. This all should be done with the national border services, but we can't respond to that because the federal government is just not functioning well, and it is in a very weak position to respond. So what we have here is Donald Trump saying we're going to put a 25% tariff on you, and what's happening is Canada is jumping. Canada, in its last budget, allocated $1.3 billion more for border security, just like that. Boom. Because Trump said so, it's happening. The provinces have asked for it for a long time. The Americans have asked for it for a long time. The federal government didn't respond. Once Trump says there's tariffs coming, we're going to hurt you with tariffs, not military, not anything like that. We're going to hurt you with tariffs. We're going to war with you with tariffs until you do what we say to do. Now, this is not just the Americans asking for it. It has been the provinces asking for it, and the federal government has been mealy-mouthed about the whole thing.
Been weak on it. Yeah, very weak
on it.
And
so
when you think about it, it's the provinces of all political stripes. You're talking about the three main, actually four provinces: Quebec, Ontario, BC, and Alberta being the key primary provinces of the country. The ones who have the largest amount of trade, particularly with the US.
Yes, and he is effectively dividing Canada. When he keeps saying that Canada will be the 51st state, well, he's already began to divide Canada, because each sector of Canada is responding in its own way, because we don't have a good central authority. The federal government has known about these problems for a very long time and has been ineffective, and just kind of put it on the back burner kind of thing, and said, oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that. It's like the 2% that we need for NATO kind of thing. The federal government's always saying, oh, well, later, oh, maybe we will. But now we're in a situation where we have to jump because we have real existential threats. But what that's done is divide the country up. We aren't getting a central unified approach. So each different provinces is taking their own approach, which makes each of those provinces independent, which weakens the central government and the central authority of the Canadian government. And that is just because the the federal government has been very, very ineffective in what it does. With immigration, we find that the American authorities have said that the Canadian border is being porous and the Canadian immigration system is being weak, and in effect inviting as many bad actors as there are good actors, plus putting a lot of pressure on the immigration and border security services. So the provinces.
But the issues that. Yeah, the issues have been long, a long supply, around a long time. Gary's basically saying need to put Canadians first. We have illegal immigrants living in motels where our own people are sleeping on the streets. Right?
Yeah.
It's insane to him.
Yeah, seriously.
Mike, we need our government to start making us self-sufficient, supply our own oil, refine our own gas, use our own lumber only, right? And the actions of the province is an example of political will. Yeah.
Well, as far as Gary's concerned, as you remember, when they had all these people coming in from Roxham Road and they ended up here in Niagara Falls, put up in hotels, and they all got cell phones, they all got good clothes, they're all being fed. My suggestion was take our homeless people, put them on a bus, and take them through New York State to Roxham Road and have them come in and claim refugee status. And that means they would get a hotel and food, and everything. They would be off the street. And that's how ridiculous the situation is.
Oh, yeah.
When we are our own homeless and and let's face it, that's only going to get worse because our standard of living is dropping rather quickly. The CBC in its own reporting has said that Australia and the UK are better off than Canada is, and yet the United States has pointed out that Mississippi, which is the poorest state in the United States, has a better future than the UK by comparison, and the UK is doing better than we're doing and they're not doing well. So we've had 9 years of collapse where we've had swollen deficits and out of hand immigration. It's all being based on poor ideas and poor enforcement. And we've mentioned this before, like they took the visas off of the Mexicans so they don't have to have a visa to come to Canada. Well, guess what's going to happen? Scads of Mexicans will fly to Canada and then try to get into the United States. And if they can't get in the United States, they all claim refugee status, which mean they're here for at least 3, more likely up to 7 years before that's resolved. And when they reduced the requirements for visas in other, when they had a backlog, so they could, I mean, that's so dumb. We have a backlog of visas to people come to Canada, so let's reduce the requirements to get into Canada. That's why we clean up our backlog of visas. Yeah. Well, what do you get? You get a lot of bad actors, don't you? So the Canadian government has never been a practical. The Liberals never been practical. They don't govern well.
Yeah,
they don't
absolutely.
make decisions.
Yeah,
and the fact that Ontario, Doug Ford Ontario has a lot of really solid connections with certain states. I think 17 of the states in the United States it has really good business connections with and trade connections with.
Well, it's the extent to which Ontario trades with a lot of these states, and we have a powerful trade network already operating with the US. And that's an important factor for us. It's important also for those states because if we're trading stuff across the border and those prices are going to go up 25%, that impacts the American, if we're supplying a widget that's part of another widget, that's part of another widget, and our widget's 25% more expensive, but when they put the whole widgets, the whole lot together, the price there is going to go up 5 or 6%.
Yeah, and basically, Trump is also misleading his own people by saying, well, 20% of our cars come from Canada. We don't need Canadian cars. He's not really telling the true story, because the parts and manufacturing of that car goes back and forth across the border. So the cars that we do send to the United States have had a lot of input from United States manufacturers. So that's an interconnected.
And actually, that's an interesting point, because you've got parts in cars that are probably made in, you've got, I don't know, there's probably 50,000 parts to a car. And if you think about it, of that 50,000, probably 10,000 are made, in Southeast Asia and various parts of Southeast Asia. Another 5,000 are made in Europe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got a lot of parts all being put together to make one, car, and they come from all over the world.
Well, just with the Canada, the United States, the manufacturing goes back and forth. You might get might get Canadian steel in the car. You might get U.S. wheels on the car. The engine may be made in the U.S., shipped to Canada, and put into the car. Things like that. So he's not really telling the true story of the trade balance. He's saying we don't need their wood.
Yeah.
We don't need their iron. We don't need their gas. We don't need their cars. We don't need anything they have. So why are we buying it? Which sounds on the surface to anyone that's has very little economic wherewithal in the United States. I could see a Trump supporter. Yeah. Why are we buying it when we could make it here? They don't really see the real truth of the global market that was developed by the United States, by the way. Also, what is lacking in his approach there, he says we subsidize them $200 billion. Well, the trade system that we're using right now, the NAFTA system that we're using right now, was one negotiated by Trump. That's the one we use. So what he's admitting to is it has failed. He failed in his negotiations, and Canada got the better of them, and Mexico got the better of them. I don't, and we see we are aligned a lot of times with the United States, at least with cars, because the Chinese are sneaking Chinese cars in through Mexico. That kind of thing. So when he says those things, they sound like pretty logical things, but it is very, very misleading. That's not how economy works. I mean, his ideas are very simplistic. Go up to Canada, turn on a tap, and we got all the water we want. Yeah, where is this big tap?
Yeah. Exactly. And he's oversimplifying it, because you can't make, as I said, something like a car comes with something in the region of 50,000 parts, and those parts are sourced from all over the world. You'll find a manufacturer in France that does all the speedos for all the cars in the world, for example. And I don't know where the speedos come from. Let me put that out there. So if you're going to prove me wrong, yeah, you're right. Okay. But where you've got a manufacturer that is in one part of the world that does all the speedos in the world, well, you're never going to get away from that, are you?
No. In fact, I look really good in a speedo. But the fact of the matter here is that, and to come back to this point, Canada is dividing, right? It is responding individually. The provinces are responding individually, because we do not have a government that we have any kind of confidence in right now. And the government proposes to go in its form now, go and start negotiating. The Trump government's going to laugh us off because you're a lame duck government. Why are we negotiating with you? You're a lame duck government, and we're going to tell you what to do because you haven't got a unified force against us here. You're all broken up. It's United States against BC, Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec, etc. Whereas they could say it's like our nation against 4 or 5 of you, all scrambling around trying to boost your border security and fentanyl things. So the Canadian government has not done its job very well, as we've noted here, that only 1% of the containers coming into the major port of Vancouver are inspected because the government reduced the ability of that border service of that dock to inspect it. And what is rightly said is a lot of fentanyl will come through there. And what they rightly said is because the Canadian borders are so porous that immigrants can come through there easily, and more are coming. Nothing like the what's happening in Mexico. And I'll turn also to Mexico right now. Guess what they're doing? They are increasing their border security like crazy right now. They are diverting caravans of people coming. I think the last caravan is coming from, what is it, Venezuela, I think. They have a massive amount of migrants coming from Venezuela to hit the U.S. border pretty soon. But the Mexican government has already interfered and deflected that already. So suddenly Trump isn't even in office, and he's got people jumping through hoops all over the place. He's got the Mexican government, the Canadian government, the BC, the Alberta, the Ontario, and the Quebec government all jumping through hoops to please him, and he's not even in office. What does that do to a bully? What does that do to a guy like he's a bully? And that's what he does. He gives you a couple of shots, and if you give him what he wants, he gives you a couple more. So what we have to do is start fighting. We have to start fighting unified. I'm pretty pleased that Ontario is going to fight back, but I'm a little bit worried about back in Alberta, who seem to be more compliant. They're worried about the trade imbalance. But if you come up against a bully and he pushes you, you better push back, because all he's going to do is keep pushing.
Yeah. All right. Just to clarify one thing, I wasn't talking about wearing a Speedo or buying Speedo as in terms of the swimming costumes, Gary. I was talking about the Speedo that goes in your car as part of the 50,000 parts of a car.
Oh, I thought it was an option.
Nice one.
I thought it was an option. As a matter of fact, when I bought my last car, I was looking in the glove box for my Speedo. Hoping you had the right size.
Yeah, you know, but it's a good job we can have it. We can laugh at ourselves, right? Right. Yeah. Canada's not outlawed the ingredients that make fentanyl like other countries have. Well, that's an important factor as well. Okay. All right.
Well, so if my Speedo's too small, I'll just have to go outside in the cold weather, and a little bit of shrinkage will make it fit.
Nasty. Okay. I got to get going at 8, by the way.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, right. I'll tell you, my plumber didn't come yesterday, by the way.
Didn't?
No.
Probably the wrong day. Probably they gave you the wrong day.
No, I thought I screwed up, and I phoned, because this is a multi-unit problem. My unit is the one that's getting damaged, but it's like 2 or 3 different units have to be inspected to stop this leak. Well, they didn't tell me.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me, so I'm sitting here. Finally, I phoned them, I says, geez, did I get this wrong? Oh, no, you got it right. But one of the apartments above you, or one of the condos above you, the people are sick, so we can't get entrance. Well, thanks for telling me. I'm waiting,
Yeah.
got everything
All right.
ready. And
So you got your Kiwanis stuff done in the afternoon.
yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I got a couple of different things. I was able to take our bingo coordinator basically to the bank where we made the deposits, and then went to Simcoe Street School where they had a nice big card made up. The students, the little kids, made up a big card for us for Kiwanis because we gave them $2,000 worth of school supplies. And I will say this, that they're super appreciative of all the other years we've given it to them, but especially appreciative this year because they had an unseen budget problem. Their students have gone up, of course, and so that's put strains on their facilities, and they had to get a number of desks that cost like $2,000. And that put a big stress on and they were going to take it out of other school supplies, but we come along and gave them $2,000 worth of school supplies, which meant that they didn't have to dip into their budget to replace the desks. We really helped them out there, so they didn't have to lose anything this year. This year, it worked out very well for Simcoe Street School. They didn't lose anything in their budget.
Oh, good.
We gave them the supplies.
I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad to see the money's getting put to good use. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next item. Niagara Falls Asset Management Plan for 2025. Now, there's going to be several what they call pop-up engagement sessions. The next one is going to be tomorrow, the 9th of January, 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. at Victoria Avenue Library. Then Tuesday, January 14th, at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at McBain Community Centre. Then there's one at Thursday, January 16th, 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. at the Gale Centre. And then January 18th, Saturday, 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. again at the Victoria Avenue Library. So if you want to get involved, want to ask questions, there's the place to go. Now, what I'm intrigued by is that given we're such an online world, why haven't they given us, emergency access to online, online, and how can we have a look at it online?
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
The library's got internet. Yeah, seriously, I don't know that.
Yeah.
A lot of these things.
Well, I could spend a bit more time outside of these these times. I could be midnight till 4 o'clock in the morning if I was so mindful to go look up the asset management plan and look it up but it's not in. I'm not saying it isn't online. I'm just saying it's not in the on the page that they're advertising this all on.
I think you probably have to go to the city site
because they want us to have our say, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But we are in a situation now where civilian participation could be much more going forward because of the electronics and things we have. It's easier to reach people. It's easier to present the asset management. In years past, you'd probably have to go down to City Hall and get a copy of it if you wanted it. Now you can get it out on electronically. It's out there for everyone to see. But we still have to get used to the fact that we can do that the average citizen can look at it and make a comment on it. And we also have to get to the point where we're more mature. Like what we want to do most of the time is look at what's there and then start screaming without due diligence, without looking into it or understanding it.
Well, you see, I'm with a lot of this, with things like asset management plan. I would probably end up with more questions than I would opinions about something.
Yes.
You know, I'd be looking at it and be saying, well, why do we want to spend X amount of money on this item? What value does it give the city? Just because I'm not mindful of the value it might give the city, right? And I just, you know, a lot of the time I start with a question rather than, oh, I think that's bad.
Yeah, right away, it must be bad. It must be bad. So it could be bad for a number of different reasons. It could be good. It could be somewhere in between. I think in years going forward that we as a society are going to have to engage ourselves more closely with the political process because we have the means to do that now. And what I find, if you talk to Europeans or even other people from other countries, they are more engaged in their political process. They have a more fuller understanding of it. Here in North America, we just like to yell a lot if things don't go our way. But I think
yelling rarely
have a more
succeeds.
political. What?
I said yelling rarely succeeds, does it?
No, it doesn't. It just everybody's angry right away and gets defensive, and it must be wrong.
Yeah.
If you engage in the political process a little bit and you begin to understand what's going on, then you can make real comments about what's good and what's bad. You can ask more poignant questions, and I believe that a more thorough democracy will mean more people engaging in it and understanding it. You know, as we will probably talk about in a minute or two here, is the inflated new taxes we're going to have to pay in Niagara Falls. And I think we should probably segue there right now. What do you think?
We can do that. Yeah, talk about it while I find the article.
It says Niagara Falls city taxes poised to climb 7.2% or 6%.
Yeah, got it.
And yeah, there doesn't seem to be much way out. Why are we going to get hammered by a 7.6% increase? That is because we don't bring in as much as we spend. And the big problems here are the fire budget is about 30% of the budget. It says here the current draft includes total revenues of $158.6 million. That's what the city takes in, and expenses of $165.5 million, which results in a tax levy increase of about $6.9 million, $7 million. So we're light $7 million. The increase would translate into an approximate hike of $10 per household per month, basically. So the Diodati will propose adjustments to the budget, and the staff are prepared options to decrease its size. These options will be included. Now, we just had things approved like a concrete, I mean, we had expenditures approved of a concrete ping pong table and a dog agility device, things that are completely unneeded, not wanted by a small percentage of the population.
Yeah, but they don't exactly make up a lot of this 7.6%. They make up less than 0.1%.
Though it's discretionary spending. That is probably the only place that our counselors can cut is discretionary spending. But I have a different view. Really, our standard of living is going down. Our prices of everything is going up. So when you get a a truck, one of the trucks, let's say a tree service truck in Niagara Falls, and you have to keep filling it up with diesel, and that diesel is more expensive because of one thing, carbon tax. That adds increases to the city budget. The city isn't getting any kind of break on carbon tax, and it has a lot of fleets of vehicles. The police force too. Did they get any break on the carbon tax? No. So that's one of the things that adds costs to the functioning of the government. There are other things that add too. Now we have a problem, of course, because a huge amount of our budget is relegated to the fire department. And the fire department, and right now the fire department is in arbitration with the city for its wages and so on. And Burgess, the CEO of the city, has said that arbitration doesn't really work very well. The arbitrators are not working very well at all. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing by looking at similar private and government employees and what they make and so on. The arbitration process is flawed, he says, because they don't really do what they're supposed to do. So here we have the fire department, which is, according to this article, is going to take 30% of the budget. I mean, it was 25% of the budget last year, I think. It's going to be 30% of the budget. That's an incredible increase. And how can we reduce that? And Burgess has also said that he's brought up, when asked, to bring up $1 million worth of saving options. When he did present them, the council and the city, the members of the city, the citizens, didn't like it. So where are you going to make these cuts? Where are the services going to back up? First of all, you have to have the essential services. And then you have to go, you have to make sure that they're covered. And then the only thing left really to cut mostly is discretionary spending. And where is that going to come from? I think the tax raise has a lot to do with the economy. With our shrinking economy and the average person's standard of living reduced. Another reason that Burgess talked about, and others, well, actually, I think it was the author Spiteri. Are you still there?
Hello, we there?
Yeah. What happened?
I don't know. I'm not even sure that we've got everything. I'm not even sure we've got everything. What I've done is I killed something that was hi, we're still here, right?
Oh, okay. Thanks, Chris. Karen Fraser says the city canceled the property tax rebate for low-income senior property owners. Yeah, I don't know if that's the greatest of moves, but me being a senior too, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I don't know Oh,
wait a minute. I just said I was a senior, so everybody looking at me right now will be in disbelief. So I should actually show my ID to prove it.
Show your ID.
Yeah. Well, one of the stores I go to get groceries, they got senior days, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, where you get 5% off if you go to the store on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So, some of the times, I like yesterday I was there and I said, I'm a senior, and they said, okay. They said, all right. And I said, hey, aren't you going to ask for my ID? Come on, do me a favor, ask for my ID.
I think the last time, you see, even when I went out, was taken by the lads at the college when I was 18 to the bar. Nobody asked for my ID back then, So, and in fact, actually, I've been to the bar a few months earlier with my mum. And my mum and dad, we went to this family bar, and nobody asked for ID even there, even though my brother was 4 years younger than me.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the senior rebates they're going to have
Here's your challenge. You've got to get seniors discount tomorrow on your wings.
Now, another thing that is pointed out in this article that I was about to say, that the years previous, when they reduced the budget that was required, has come back to haunt them in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So keeping the taxes down a few years ago only delayed the problem. So when you minimize the amount of taxes a few years ago, and everybody says, look, we cut the taxes, we brought it down, but that all just comes back to haunt you, because sooner or later you got to have to pay the piper.
Yeah.
And during times of inflated prices and the Canadian economy,
the bank
diminished. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the bank right now is firmly knocking on the door saying, pay us. We need our money, Yeah.
Give me the money. So this is what happens when you have budget overruns. Like Niagara Falls is not that bad compared to other municipalities. But we see that we have a deficit now that we have to overcome. And that deficit is $7 million. We have to find money for $7 million more dollars. And the only two options you have is borrow more money and just pay me now or pay me later. So if you borrow more money to cover that, all you're doing is putting the responsibility off a little bit. And the other one is to pay me now. And so the 7.6% budget, of course, everybody's mad about it. But as the article has pointed out, they have just postponed the increases in years past. And now we have whopping big increases, and everybody says, where do they come from? Well, if you had increased 1 or 2 more % in the years past, it wouldn't be so bad this year.
But again, a large chunk of our 7.6% comes from the budget laid down by the region.
This is city stuff. It's not regional. The regional taxes are different. This is 7.6 for Niagara Falls, the city of Niagara Falls.
No, but it encompasses is this just the asset budget?
It's just the asset budget. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll back off that. Yeah. Let's go. All right. Moving on. Okay. So new year, new laws. A couple of areas where people need to take into consideration. There's new rules about childcare coming on board. There's new rules about collision reporting coming on board, and there's new healthcare rules coming on board. And there's also another thing to note is that the the Accessibility for Ontarios with Disability Act becomes fully enforced on January the 1st, 2025.
Well, let's work on the collision thing. So Ontario has increased the threshold of dictating when drivers are required to report a collision to the police.
Yeah.
Prior to January 1st, 2025, the damage had to be $2,000. It is now increased to $5,000. Well, $5,000 is a fender bender these days. $2,000 was a scratch on the side of your car. So this is a big problem going forward. So right now, if you get into an accident with someone else, and you think that the damage is $5,000 or more, then you have to report it. You're obliged to report it to the police.
Yeah.
You might want to do that anyway. You're going to have to prove who's at fault and all these other things. Like if you get into a car accident, and let's say you're on ice and you lose control of your car and you smash into a tree, I think you're going to have to prove that actually happened. And you'll have to get a police officer up there to kind of confirm that the ice is icy or whatever.
One of the things that I had is I was parked in a car park in a normal slot, and somebody whacked the side of my car. I don't quite know how they managed to whack the side of my car. Given in 90% of cases that would have been entirely shielded by another, the car parked in the next slot. So clearly they hit it when there wasn't a car in the next spot. No note, no nothing, right? I went along to Hamilton Police about this, and I told them I think the damage is excess of $2,000, and they said, I don't care. If you can't tell me who else was involved, I don't care.
Oh boy!
Right?
Where did it happen?
In a car park in central Hamilton.
Do they have a CTV type of?
No.
No. So what did the insurance do then?
It's like there's essentially what I did is I actually had a friend of mine pull the panel out, help me pull the panel out and straighten it up as best he could.
Yeah. Geez. Yeah, there you go. Like if you make an insurance claim, and if you can't prove that happened, well, it happened to a car. I had a car one time, and it was in Home Depot. It was obviously somebody who had a bunch of drywall sheets in one of those little carts, because there was a big dent in my car and it had drywall right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, they lost control of the cart and it made a dent in my car. And there was like,
and they're kind of, I didn't do it. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And those are the worst. But anyway, yeah. But so that threshold has gone up to $5,000. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Good luck, because the police don't like to do anything like that. They just don't. I mean, sometimes, like at one time I had a battery stolen, so I had a good idea who did it, but they didn't care about that. They just gave me a number so that I could claim it on my insurance. But of course, somebody steals your battery, the insurance is going to pay $0 because it's below the threshold of liability. Like you have to pay $2,000 basically on your own before the insurance will kick in.
Yeah. Well, basically, I was fortunate that I knew somebody a friend of mine basically said, yeah, I can help you pull the panel out and straighten it back up again. And we used some of those. This was the old car that I had. So we used then some of those silver this kind of spray on and wipe on silver type things that you can get to repair the scratches.
Oh.
And then it was mainly done, but it's like I was more. My reason for going to the Hamilton police was like, well, can't you find the person? And they were like, I don't give a shit. If you can't tell me who did it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but they should actually. Well, they didn't give you a number for your insurance or whatever. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So what are they going to do anyway? Seriously, they could be very sympathetic.
Yeah, I could have put a cell camera on and documented it, but it didn't make any difference at the end of the day, I don't think. Right. And we're pitching in about the fire department budget. We had to hand out $230 million to the cops. That's true as well, Gary.
That's right. But there's regional, right? And that's a little bit different, where they cost us a lot of money, but a little of that is more of efficiencies, which Burgess talks about. If we are in a bigger governance area, there are more efficiencies. Rather than have two or three different police departments, we have one big one, which means that's more efficient in its expenditure. Each different community doesn't have to pay individually for a police department. However, that's not the same for a fire department. That is for the city. I don't know if it's even feasible to have a regional fire department. So the fire department is our responsibility as Niagara Falls citizens completely. We can't disperse any of those of that expenses. We can't look for efficiencies by making it bigger in a bigger governance area, which Burgess has suggested. That's the only place you're going to start getting efficiencies if you combine resources with the other municipalities. I don't know if we could actually even do that with a regional fire department. I don't know if we could actually even think of that right now. But 30% of the budget, that's a heck of a lot.
Yeah,
it's a heck of a lot. And there's got to be efficiencies there somewhere. The pay scale of the firefighters is very high. The legacy of the firefighters is very high. Their payouts and their pensions and all that is extremely high. They are among the highest paid people in the city. People who are already being retired. So, they're drawing on the resources of the city, of course. And I'm trying to think of what else they said about the fire department. Yeah, it's a very, very expensive operation. Peter Parker says the economy is great for criminal opportunists and politicians. Strange. Yeah, that happens when a society starts to break down and more of the money moves away from the middle class. Then you do get these political and criminal opportunists.
And here's the thing. Sandra McKinnon puts up a good point here. That Burgess could cut his $250,000 salary. Just cutting $50,000 off that salary will give us a worthwhile saving, right?
No, I think he's worth $250,000.
I don't think he's worth more than about 80.
No, I think he's worth $250,000. I do. You have to have somebody that really knows their stuff. If Burgess was in there for $100,000, he could just say, "Okay, you do what you want to do." No, he is being paid $250,000 to do his job. As a matter of fact, he's probably one of the only people I trust to do their job efficiently at City Hall. Sometimes you have to have talent, and I'll make this comparison. I think it was Oxfam many years ago had a charity, and they were very, very inefficient, right? And then someone says, "Well, we'll hire a CEO for $250,000," which was unheard of by that time. That CEO came in and modernized the charity and made the charity one of the best charities around, where 89 or 85 to 89% of the money that was brought in was actually used for charitable purposes. When they had lesser administrators, being paid a lot less money, a lot less skilled.
Yeah.
They were a terribly run outfit, and only about 50% of their charitable donations actually went into the charity. So sometimes you have to have talent, and you have to pay for that talent.
Yeah. Well, and I've done it by looking at comparative analysis based upon people that I know in other industry, in the private sector, and I'd say that salary is not worth more than $100,000, maybe 120.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's a middle level. It's a middle level management job. That's it, right?
You know what? I disagree. I think we have to have the best talent there as possible. And Burgess is terse and abrupt, and he'd never be a politician, but I think he's doing his job very well. And all his salaries and everything are up front. He is very supportive of his own staff. He defends his own staff, which tells me his staff must be doing what they're supposed to be doing. Otherwise, he wouldn't defend them. So I would say that you need talent in a position like that, and you have to pay for that talent, whether you like it or not. And that person is always going to be a controversial figure, but he is going to be the one that understands everything much more than any counselor will ever. And up until now,
But again, I would also say that I think the mayor's salary ought to be cut by 25%.
Good luck.
I know.
Good luck. Every MP and MPP's salary should be cut. But good luck. What about the golden? If you put 6 years in as an MP in Ottawa, you get a wonderful pension and health care benefits.
And of course the cynics have been saying that, hey, Jagmeet now gets his pension because the 6 years are up in mid-February, and he doesn't lose his seat before then.
I'll say this again. I don't think that was a motivation for Jagmeet Singh. Basically,
I don't think it was. I don't think it was ever his.
Because he's already the Maserati Marxist. He already has scads of cash. I mean, he's got, like I said, he's got a very expensive.
Marxist, no, but yeah, I get you. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway. All right.
So that basically we're getting close to 8 o'clock. You said you have to scram at 8 o'clock.
I do have to scram at 8 o'clock-ish, and I've frozen again.
Are you frozen?
I have frozen. Yes, I have frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen. How about me? Am I still animated?
You're still talking. You're still good. Keep going.
Keep going. Okay. Well, basically our budget is just a reality, and I believe in years past when I've been listening to council and they've been cutting taxes and bringing down the budget and say what good boys and girls we are. We just reduced your taxes, and every time I see that, I think to myself, sooner or later we're going to have to pay the piper. You can only defer them for so long. And I would say that that Niagara Falls hasn't done too bad. We haven't borrowed in excess like St. Catharines has and other municipalities. What did Gary just say there?
Right. He says he agrees with me. What has your mayor done for the city? In my opinion, absolutely nothing.
Well, that can be called upon every mayor in every place, every MP,
absolutely.
every MP.
And Sandra McKinnon is basically saying she doesn't like Singh. She believes in Malaya.
Well, Singh hitched his wagon to the Liberals, and now both the Liberals and the NDP are in terrible shape because they were allowed to spend what they wanted to do because the government was supported by the NDP, and now the NDP is trying to make distance between themselves and the Liberals and everybody just looks at them as the same unit now. Singh was dumb because if he had gone for a non-confidence vote a year ago or so, he would have made up a lot of seats in the Liberal territory. But now he's stuck.
He could have done, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, quite definitely. Everybody was angry at the Liberals, and they weren't warmed up to the Conservatives yet. So Singh would have done his party a favor, I believe. Anyway, but that aside, where the realities are, we now have a lame duck government that's going to be trying to negotiate with Trump's team, which will make it a real joke because the Trump team will say you're a lame duck government, and there's nothing you can do. They're going to come out looking even worse. So I don't know, and of course all of that reflects when we talk about the debt to GDP ratio, like we talked about yesterday. What is always missing from the federal debt to GDP is the kind of debt incurred by the provinces and municipalities, which is not included. 88 says, I'll talk to you tomorrow about Wayne Getz, Wills. He is a disgrace to the city, in my opinion, only.
All right. I think we're going to have to leave it at that point. Again, quite an interesting day. We're day 3 of the new year, and it hasn't been anything but exciting this far. And we'll leave it with Canada is very, very weak. Yep.
Yeah, right now Canada is extraordinarily weak. It's fracting. It's falling apart as each different section of Canada tries to respond to a president that's not even sworn in yet.
Yeah, there's not even president yet. Yeah. And hey, there's always a statistical possibility that he could die before he's even sworn in.
Well, they tried that twice. It didn't work, did it? You have to count on Mother Nature. But I heard him talk the other day. I watched his speeches, although they're rather kind of naive and nearly childish in his ideas of geopolitics and that. He speaks well. He is very alert. He is everything that Biden isn't. He's only 4 years younger than Biden, and yet Biden can't run a sentence together. He's been like that for over 2 years, probably 3, and he's been guarded by his staff, which makes you wonder why the Democrats let that go on so long. So he has a lot of, he's got a lot of support because he can answer questions and he can put a sentence together.
Yep, I know.
Even if you don't like it.
Mine was a cynical thing, but I've got to go.
Okay. Without further ado, I bid you adieu. Pray for peace.